Hi, I'm Gary Jenkins, and welcome to the Jenkins Art Studio. Today we're going to paint a white swan with some beautiful reflections and maybe some other stuff in there we don't know until we get into it. But let's come over here and take a look at my canvas and let me show you how we got this started. This is a 16 by 20 canvas. The back is painted black with black acrylic. Then I also went in, once the black acrylic has dried, I went in with a transparent base medium. So this background is a little wet. Now I have a little pattern on here, and I bet you guys can't see it, or maybe you can just barely make it out, but I do have a little pattern of the swan on here. Now today I don't have a painting to show you that I'm working from, so we'll just sort of be a little surprise for you. Now a lot of you say, okay, well I can't draw, and how do I get the swan up there? I have beautiful swan pictures. Oh boy, I can't get it on my canvas. Well, there's several ways you can do it. You can do it the hard way, and you can just simply sketch it on there. Or you can use an opaque projector where you take a photograph and just slip it under the projector and project it up and trace it off. You can take slides. Slides are very good to take. And using a slide projector, you can project the image up. Using a slide projector will give you a much sharper, clearer image to work from, and especially for your pattern. And of course, if all of that doesn't work for you, we have a painting packet that'll have the pattern in it for you. Okay, let's get started up here, and let's come on down to the palette, and we're going to work from dark to light. And we're going to put, well, I was going to go in and put the gray in, but I think we'll go in and paint the little guy's bill first. So we're going to take, over here, we have a little orange. Now this orange has been made a little bit darker with a touch of black. The brush I'm using is a pointed round sable. Very important that it is a sable and it's a round, which means it comes to a nice point so we can get all that nice detail. So we'll take a little bit of this and we're going to take it up here. Now I rest my hand on the canvas. I do have a little sketch. You can just barely make it out there. And remember, this is sort of a muted orange, has a little bit of black in it, just a touch. Because if you used it just straight out of the tube, it'd be way too bright. Now, even that, it might be popping off of there a little bit much. And so that's okay. We'll just come down, pick up a little gray, and we'll go over the top of that. Because we are working on top. I want to get a little more of that gray tone. We are working on top of a black background. So no matter what color we put on here, it might look gray on your palette because your palette is white. But when you get it up here, oh boy, it jumps right off. Now that's about right, the right value that we want. Then we'll come down and pick up a little orange. You clean your brush off. Pick up a little orange. And a little touch of yellow, which is going to give us a little bit of a brighter shot. And I rest my hand on the canvas. I'm going to come up here and get a little bit of a brighter shot right in there. You see where the light is hitting right on the edge. Yes. Now this part goes into dark, so I don't need to mess with that. But we're going to take a little touch of black, and there is just a little detail right in here, right on the end of his beak is a little bit of a dark right about in there. Yes. Okay, now even though, that's black, it's the black of the canvas back there. I'm going to go in and paint it black anyway, just because it makes me feel better. Okay, now we've got his beak. You notice the glow. Look at the glow that beak has. We must have that beautiful glow on the end. Otherwise the old beak could be, or his bill, would be lost. Now we're going to go in and pick up our gray. Now remember, we're going to test our gray. It might look like it's about right down here because we have a white palette. But we're going to test it up here. Usually we get our gray too light. Uh-oh, must have got lucky. God smiled on me. I'm going to get that gray in there. I'm using a little pointed brush. Remember, you don't want to rush the brush. Take your time. Do a good job. Everybody wants to rush through the painting and get finished with it so they can get on with something else. Okay, we're going to take that. And remember, I have some of that transparent base medium on here, which is helping the paint to flow. Now I'm going to go reach down to the palette. I think I want to go just a hair darker, so I'm going to put a little more black with this gray. Yeah, let's gray it down just a little bit more. Don't put the paint on thick. And we will be working from dark to light. And this shadow, we'll pull some of it up top so it blends in. And the shadow comes on down. Kind of choppy strokes, choppy, choppy. Down. This is a wonderful shadow that comes down because it ties the neck and the breast part and everything all together into one unit. Leave a little ragged edge. You see how ragged this edge is? It's easier to blend one color into a ragged edge than it is if we left it sharp. Coming around the corner and down around the bottom. Just sort of scrub it in. Now, maybe we'll come over here. We have another brush. Let's come down to the palette and show you this brush. This is called a flat brush, and this is a number 8. And we're going to take our gray tone. I work it off the brush. So I pick up paint, then I'll come over to a blank area and work most of the paint back off so I don't take any blobs up here. And I'm going to work this gray in here, because this is all in shadow. I'm going to pick up a little more dark black. Yeah. So I'll throw some black in there to get a little darker grays along with the lighter grays. And it comes. Sometimes you scrub, sometimes you just stroke it. This is very simple to do. Little tail back here. And down here, it kind of bulges out just a little bit on the bottom. Pull that gray up here. Now this is going to be kind of impressionistic, where we're just going to have a hint of feather work showing. I'll show you how you do that in a minute. We're down here picking up more gray. And there's a wonderful shadow that's going to fall right about in here. We'll get that in. I get quiet when I do this little stuff. All right, we're looking cool. Now we want to make sure we have all the grays in. I'm going to get a little bit darker. I'm going to take straight black, and find a couple extra darks there. Just kind of here and there. And you notice the stroke is going this way. It's going in the direction that our feathers will be found in just a minute. Now we're going to take our little brush, clean it off, and we're going to go on top of the swan's head. We're going to take some white, no medium, because we already have that transparent base medium on top there, so we don't need any medium. And now watch, when this goes on, you know what I think I'll do? I had some straight white. I'm going to put just a little touch of red with it. Just a touch, because white is never white. White always reflects something. So I'm putting a little touch of pink, which warms the white up. Now our shadow is cool. Now as soon as we go in and we put a white on there, look at that white. I know. It's bouncy time. And now over here, my hand might be in the way, but I'll get it out of there in a minute. And I know it's pretty bright. I'm going to take this around, take the white around here. Ah, yes. And any place we see there's going to be a little white, maybe a little touch of it in here. Oh, right on top of that gray, a little white. Now I'm going to wipe the brush. Clean it off really good because we want to, look at that light hitting up there. And we want to blend this together. See? Sort of leave the brush on the canvas and just blend. You see how it blends? See that feeling of light? Maybe a little reflected light in there. And we sort of blend that together a little. Remember, take your time. And we're going to take our white again with a little touch of pink. And we're going to have that white coming down here. right on down the old neck. Very bright, especially against that black. Whew. Turn the corner. And then we're going to blend it together. And well, I think I'll take my flat brush, clean it off. Then I'll use my flat brush to blend this together. Okay. And they're little short, choppy strokes. So you get the feeling of feathers, because that's what's in there, little short little feathers. Now we're going to pick up our white and a little touch of red. Know that we want that little feeling of pink in there. I'm going to come up here on his back and start laying this in. Now, of course, it's the white swan. And you really can't make out one feather from the other. So we don't have to show feather. Feather would be too busy, but we just give the illusion of feathers. The illusion. Come on down. Look at it getting darker by itself. There's that shadow that's cast. Coming down, I'm going to steal some of this. Come on down. Look at the stroke. See it? Steal some up here. Bring it on down. Little hint of light back here. Now, it's going to get a little hard looking. And so this is where we take our little blending brush, this little blender, and this will help soften up some of the hardness. Especially that shadow where you see it's a really hard edge. So we'll soften that up. Yes. All right, maybe a little in here. Cool. Oop. Last stroke always gets you. Whew. Now we're going to come down and let's pick up a little blue, cerulean blue. I'm going to take that over here, and I hope my hand isn't in your way. And can you see a little? No, you can't see that because it needs a touch of white with it. And we'll get a little touch of blue right in there. Now there's just a hint of blue. You can just barely make it out. We're also going to take a little bit of that white and blue and find a hint of it down here. This is a little reflected light. Now we're going to get into, hey, that looks pretty good. Got a little shot right there. Need to blend out. We're going to get into the bottom part where we have a nice reflection, and this is where we'll pick up a larger brush. This is a bright, and it's a number 18. I'm going to take this. Let's take some white, and this time we're going to take some Prussian blue. Boy, watch out for Prussian blue. It'll get on your shorts and follow you home. This is a lot of pigment. And if you're going to get any color on your shirt, it's always blue, the Prussian blue that jumps off the palette and gets on you. You guys that paint know that. Here we're going to get a little reflection. And it's sort of the side of the brush. And we run it around like this. Now this is a vignette, so this guy it's dark around the outside edges. Now we're going to take our blue, straight blue, because I want a little darker. Yes, there it is. Yes. And come on down. Keep it loose and keep it free. And maybe down here we'll come around like this, and like this, and like this. Nice long strokes. Maybe another one this way. And we're going to carry this on up to the back, but not too bright. That's pretty bright. Come down and get our dark blue going. Sometimes you can take, for colors that are way in the back, take some of our mauve or purple color here. Mix a little blue with it. And you probably will just barely be able to see this at home. But it's in there. And we're going way back here and put just a hint of color. I hope this is showing for you, showing up. Okay. Now down in the front, this is where we want to go and really snap it up. Let's get a little more white, a little touch of red. Makes a nice pink, pale pink. And we want a reflection. Maybe we have a little reflection like this coming in. And with really strong light coming in here. And maybe some of this where it shows a little action. And after we have that in, we have a blending brush, which will come in and soften. Let's try it on the downstroke. Let's see what that does. Yes, you see what that does? Take it and drag it down. And then come across. Gives you the feeling of a watercolor. Yeah. Now we're going to take some of that wonderful blue color, and we're going to repeat some of it up into the swan. Now a lot of you say, oh boy, where do you get all this information from? Where do you find pictures of swans? Well, Catherine and I have moved to Ashland, Oregon. And downtown Ashland has a wonderful park. And in this park, people sit, and there's a girl that's sitting there and sketching swans. I go down there, and Catherine and I go down there, and we photograph the swans. Look at the swan. Aren't they wonderful? We spend a day down there, have our cappuccino, and take our cameras down and photograph the swans. And this is where I got the picture for the idea for our swan today. Well, it's great being a painter because you get to do all this neato stuff. Now I'm going to sneak some of this color up here, because if you don't, the swan will look like it doesn't belong in the painting. So we want a little touch of that blue upstairs, yes. And using our little flat brush, go back into it. Now you might want to let some of this sort of dry up a little bit. Oh, there's a nice little edge coming out. It's catching the light and the ripples. You see? Yes. So you can have fun down here. We can add a little more color down there. We'll take a little orange and yellow and add a little of that down here. I sure like it better than Florida. We used to live in Florida by a lake. Of course, we didn't have any swans. We had alligators. Who wants to paint an alligator? I sure don't. Now, we have some lily ponds, lily pads that we might put a few of those in. We'll take a little green and orange, and take some of that color. And maybe right in here we'll show that there's a little pod sitting right in here. And we'll take a little black, put with that green if it gets a little too dark, and darken it up a little bit. So there you go. Because you don't want them all just super bright. And because it is sitting on the water, don't forget, we want to have a little reflected light underneath. So you can put as many pods in there as you want, or pads, whatever you call those things. In Florida, I used to have a canoe, and I used to take it out and paddle around. I used to take a lot of pictures of these out there. Of course, in a canoe, you're really low in the water. And I tell you, you don't want to come across any alligators out there. Because in a canoe, you're face to face with them. Whoa. I don't want to do that. Here's another one going in. Now remember, we're looking at it from the side. From the side, so it's foreshortened. Don't make a circle. And we're going to have another one here. Round on the edges. Maybe this one's a little bit longer. And maybe this one has a little orange and yellow. And the name of this show is called Swan at Lithia Park. So if you ever want to refer to it, If you give us a call and you say, oh, I'm watching a show, of course, all you have to do is say Swan. We'll know which one you're watching. Look at the little vein work in there. And don't forget, at the end of the show, if you want to email me, my web address will be on there. Or you can refer to also, if you're calling us for any reason at all, you can refer to the show number. We have another reflected light underneath this pod. Look at it go in. See, the reflected light really helps them to sit down. Also, there we can put a little sparkle on the water. Sometimes you find this little sparkle. How we doing? Pretty good? Oh, you know, we better take a little of this. Let's put a little hint of it back here. So the eye just doesn't stop there, but we'll walk on back. Leave a little dark underneath so that the swan will sit in the water. Don't forget the blending. Yeah. And we have some little sparkles we're going to put on there. We'll come in and pick up a little white just on the tip of the brush. And we'll come up and let's put a little sparkle here, here, here. You see? And another one here. Now, when you put these sparkles in, they'll look like a bunch of dots. So you need to come in after you have them in there, and you just sort of yank down on them. You see that? And that sort of sets those sparkles in. Also, some of this work we've done in here, look at that. Look how we just pulled that. Look at that. See, it makes sort of a shimmer on the water. Some of the pods, or pads, will be underneath the water. So you might want to just sort of fuzz out an edge. You see there? How it looks like it just sort of went underneath. That way it keeps them from sticking out. Okay. All right. Now we're going to have some little flowers with the lily pads. So we're going to take a little green. Ooh, not green. We're going to take some crimson. And that crimson is our real dark color. I'm going to come over here. And let's just put one right in here. And you see how they kind of fan out? And then we'll put the darks in first. A little more crimson. Just went down for a little bit of more of the same color. Maybe we'll have another one. Maybe back here there's one. Maybe sometimes they just sort of stick out of the water. Yeah. Then, and I use paper towels. All the time I'm wiping on these towels. We're going to take a little red, maybe a touch of orange with the red, with the pointed sable, and I mix with my brush. And we'll come up here. We'll take this little guy way in the back and put just a little bit of color on him. See it? And come down to the next one. And a little bit of color on this one. All right, maybe a little reflected light on that one. Let's make that one a little bit brighter. A little bit brighter. Right in there, yeah. That's good. Yes. See, that little bit of red looks cool. How we doing? Let's check out the painting. Check out the whole thing. How we doing? We got the pods in there. We might want to soften this. You guys have more time at home. Do your thing. And I hope you have an area in your town where you have some swans on a pond or on a lake that you can go out there and have a good excuse to take a day off and get some nice reference material. Well, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'll see you next time. And don't forget, sit down and photograph some swans out there. God be with you, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Wilt u ook leren schilderen als Garry Jenkins? Bestel dan dit prachtige boek, vol met praktische schildertips en schitterende voorbeelden. Deze unieke uitgave heeft u al in huis voor €34,50. Ook kunt u voor dezelfde prijs een dvd bestellen waarop Garry stap voor stap uitlegt hoe u zijn schildertechnieken kunt leren. Kijk voor alle bestelinformatie op omroepmax.nl of teletextpagina 332.